How long do we have before the world ends? From volcanic eruptions to global pandemics, and of course, asteroid impact that wiped out the dinosaurs, our planet has been through a lot of catastrophes in its lifetime. But one thing it's never experienced is a full-on explosion, unless you count the formation of the solar system as a catastrophe. What would happen if the Earth actually did explode? How could this even happen? And is it likely to occur anytime soon? Let's find out. This is the day the Earth might explode. 68 million years ago, Chicxulub asteroid smashed into Earth and triggered the largest mass extinction in history. It was 6 miles wide, which is around 10 kilometers, and it wiped out an estimated 75% of all species on the planet. It left behind the 108-mile wide or 300-kilometer wide Chicxulub crater located beneath the Yucatan Peninsula. However, compared to some of the asteroids that have already passed by the Earth in recent years, like 2014, 850, whose diameter was 2 kilometers, this was just a little guy. In fact, scientists believe that an asteroid at least 6 miles wide hits the Earth every 1 million years or so. So there's a very good chance that another asteroid the size of the one that killed the dinosaurs will smash into our planet in the next few million years. That's a pretty big time frame, though. If you're hoping to squeeze a bit more life out of this planet, then you should probably look elsewhere for something a bit more catastrophic. But what about less cosmic and more terrestrial threats to the planet? Scientists have calculated that a supervolcano eruption could have enough force to destroy the entire planet. For an eruption to be classified as supervolcanic, it needs to have a volcanic explosivity index or VE of 8. This is based on a logarithmic scale where each whole number represents a 10-fold increase in power. The VEI describes 8 different eruption magnitude categories from 0 to 7, with 0 being non-explosive eruptions, such as effusive lava lakes, and 7 being the most explosive with devastating global effects. There has only ever been one eruption that has achieved a VE of 8, and that was the formation of the Yellowstone caldera in eastern Idaho, USA, which occurred between 630,000 and 640,000 years ago. This event ejected more than 2,800 cubic miles of ash and pumice. That's 12,000 cubic kilometers, enough to cover the entire state of Montana in over 50 feet or 15 meters of material. The eruption column rose 300 miles into the air. That's almost 500 kilometers. While the vast majority of the ejected material fell back down on the North American continent, some made it all the way around the world. In modern times, the largest volcanic eruption was Mount Pinatubo in the Philippines in 1991, which reached a VE of 6. In comparison, the Yellowstone eruption was 2,000 times more powerful. Now, a VE 8 eruption, whoa, and blow the Earth up in the sense of blowing it apart and sending it flying through space. But it could destroy everything on the planet, much like an asteroid impact would. Of course, the main difference here is that a supervolcanic eruption could happen at any time, although there are no signs of this happening anytime soon. And unlike an asteroid, which would come from out of nowhere, we would be able to see it coming. On April 19, 2010, the Deepwater Horizon oil drilling rig exploded in the Gulf of Mexico, causing the largest marine oil spill in history. It pumped 210 million gallons of oil into the ocean over the course of 5 months until it was finally capped. The disaster had immediate consequences for wildlife in the area, with hundreds of thousands of birds and aquatic animals being coated in oil. Entire ecosystems were thrown off balance, and people had to be evacuated from the surrounding areas. However, the damage went far beyond the Gulf Coast. The oil spread across thousands of miles of ocean and coastline, affecting plants and animals all the way from Florida to Texas. For years after the initial spill, researchers discovered that the Deepwater Horizon had caused major declines in the populations of fish and other marine organisms along the northern Gulf Coast, and the ecosystem had yet to recover. Now, imagine this happening not on a small scale, but on a truly massive scale. What if the entire Gulf Coast, or better yet, the entire east coast of the United States was hit by a tsunami that flooded every major city and swept inland for hundreds of miles? A tsunami of this size would wipe out coastal cities within seconds and send debris and contaminants from sewage systems, landfills and chemical plants surging hundreds of miles inland. Floods of this scale can and do happen. On December 26, 2004, a 9.1 magnitude earthquake struck off the coast of Sumatra, Indonesia. The energy released was equivalent to 230 nuclear bombs. The water displaced by the earthquake triggered a series of tsunamis that crashed into coastal communities throughout the Indian Ocean. They reached heights of up to 100 feet or 30 meters when they hit land and devastated 14 countries. More than 230,000 people lost their lives. The Indian Ocean tsunami was the second deadliest in recorded history. The deadliest was the 1478 AD tsunami in the same location. The tsunami is believed to have been caused by a 9.3 magnitude earthquake. Estimates vary, but it's thought that more than 100,000 people died. These two tsunamis are examples of mega-tsunamis, which are defined as having wave heights greater than 100 feet or 30 meters. Mega-tsunamis are rare events. They can be caused by earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, landslides, glacier collapses, or meteorite impacts. But regardless of their cause, they always share one common trait. They strike without warning. Their destructive power is almost impossible to overstate. Not even major cities like New York and London could withstand the full force of a mega-tsunami. On January 21, 2010, a 7.0 magnitude earthquake struck Haiti, killing more than 220,000 people, injuring another 300,000 and leaving more than 1.2 million homeless. It was the country's deadliest earthquake in 200 years. The country was ill-equipped to deal with the aftermath of the disaster. And 6 months later, 4 million people still needed humanitarian assistance. As of 2021, the nation is still working to rebuild from the earthquake. The island of Hispaniola, which Haiti shares with the Dominican Republic, is located on top of the Caribbean plate, which is moving at a rate of about 1.5 inches or 2.5 centimeters per year towards the North American plate. The North American plate isn't going anywhere fast, though. It's moving so slowly that if you tried to run as fast as it's moving, you'd be breaking the world record for sprinting by a very long shot. At that speed, you'd be traveling faster than Usain Bolt's fastest sprint, which is 27.8 miles per hour or 45 kilometers per hour. The Caribbean plate, on the other hand, is moving a little over twice as fast as the North American plate, but it's still only traveling at about 3 inches per year or 7.5 centimeters per year. The slow movement is causing the island to crumple and buckle, resulting in earthquakes. In the last 500 years alone, there have been 24 earthquakes of magnitude 7.2 or higher. Now imagine if the island started to sink instead of crumbling. What if the Caribbean plate suddenly dropped down into the Caribbean Sea? This would create a massive tsunami that would devastate the entire region. No one would be prepared for such a sudden and unexpected disaster. All coastal cities would be wiped away, and the death toll would easily reach into the millions. So what's the likelihood of these catastrophic events happening anytime soon? NASA believes that there is a 1 in 1 million year chance that an asteroid the size of the one that killed the dinosaurs will hit the Earth. Yellowstone hasn't erupted since the Pleistocene epoch. There is a 1 in 730,000 year chance that it will erupt again within the next 10,000 years. And the odds of a mega-tsunami hitting the U.S. mainland are almost zero, but that doesn't mean they can't happen. The Indian Ocean tsunami took many by surprise, but experts say that tsunamis of that size may happen once every 100 or so years. Scientists can now track potentially hazardous asteroids in near-Earth orbit and monitor volcanoes for signs of activity, so we do have ways of knowing if something is coming. But in the case of a mega-tsunami, we'd probably only get minutes of warning, if that. The Caribbean plate could drop down and trigger a mega-tsunami without any warning whatsoever. So how would you survive the end of the world? Would you rather go out in a blaze of glory or peacefully in your sleep? Let us know in the comments below. And thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a like. See you next time.